Florida versus Texas, talking about Florida's offense against Texas defense. And you mentioned Arch needing to run the ball or more designed runs for Arch Manning. We kind of saw Billy do that with Lagway in the Miami game. Our one touchdown drive, we saw 2 designed runs with DJ Lagway, I think. On the 4th down, that resulted in a first down, and the next play was a touchdown there to make it 13-7. So I kind of want to talk about this Florida offense against the Texas defense. I mean, it's easy to come on here and say Texas defense is going to shut down the Florida offense because it probably is. But if there is one thing that maybe could help open up the Florida offense, it is DJ Lagway's legs, because I think it's easy, or I just said that, but we've been talking about Lagway, and Tyler and I talked about it a lot here. Lagway struggling, and we don't know if it's injury or if it's just regression or rust, because you go and look at him play, he's playing worse than last year, clearly. That's not a question. But it doesn't look like he's hurt. Like, maybe he's a little slower, but early in the year, we still saw him start to throw some deep passes. It doesn't look like there's not a lot of zip on the ball. Like, Riss, watch him go out there and make bad reads or just not throw the ball or hesitate. So I think Florida being able to give Lagway and let him run the rock a bit more could maybe help open up the offense, and I think could also build some confidence, although Texas defense is going to be really good. And are they going to allow us to run Lagway? I think that's a really important question here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting because I saw the point someone brought up. I don't know exactly who it was on Florida Twitter, but did he gain too much weight? I saw that point being brought up. Like, what does he weigh now? 240 or something like that?
Something like that. He wasn't too much lower than that last year. I don't know how much he gained exactly, but
he was like 230 or 235 last year.
Yeah, I mean, he was still a pretty big dude last year, but he has definitely gained a little bit of weight.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that takes away from a little bit of his speed, but I think it's honestly the practice. Like, when has this guy ever gotten like a full week of practice during the summer? He was always in a walking booth. They were always holding him out, and I think that's the offense for you guys as a whole. Like, Dallas Wilson is yet to play for this offense. We saw DJ Lagway, banked up, not really to play. There's no cohesion there. So I think that's part of it for you guys. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because I do have your stats right here. I was surprised by looking at this. You guys are only averaging 3.4 yards per rush. That's 105th in the country. I would expect more from that just because, I mean, I like Jaden Ball a lot. I think Jaden Ball is one of the 3 to 4 best running backs in the SEC. And then you have DJ Lagway. We're supposed to have a really good offensive line, which you still do. I don't know if it's lived up to the hype that you guys probably thought it was going to, but it's still a good offensive line. It is a mystery to me as an outsider. Like, how are you guys not able to run the football?
Crowded boxes. That's all it is. They know that Lagway can't do anything, and they're just stacking the boxes. And actually, Baugh is making plays in spite of that because he's such a baller. But yeah, that's why the numbers look like they do. Florida hasn't had like a good on paper rushing performance this year because, I mean, it's going back to even USF. They were just loading up the box, daring you to beat him over the top, and Lagway just can't do that right now.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be interesting because Texas, they haven't done it in like multiple years now. They're going to come out and cover two high safeties, and they're going to make you pound it at them and get them out of that. No one's been able to do that. I think Washington might have been the last team in the playoff because Penix had like an all-time day. I think that was legitimately the last time anyone was able to, hey, we're going to actually have to, bring guys up in the box and stuff like that. But we're only giving up 2.1 yards per carry. So we're 5th in the country. And I think this will be the 3rd year in a row if it stays around that number where it's under 3 yards per carry. So it'll be interesting how you guys attack. But that's the thing, too, why this game scares me. I know what you guys' record is and everything, but you guys still have a lot of talent. Like, all it has to do is come together for 4 quarters one time to beat. And if we play a B-C game, you guys can beat us. So that's what scares me the most about this. All it takes is one day, and you guys definitely have the talent to do so.
That's kind of something we've talked about over the past couple of weeks is we're probably 2 pieces away from being 4-0. I mean, we lose a game against LSU. We lose by 10 points where our EPA was actually a substantial amount higher than LSU's was. We threw 5 picks and lost by 10 points. And then that Miami game, I mean, Miami did, they beat us pretty badly. I mean, our defense was on the field the entire game. Miami was able to run, but we bended, didn't break. I mean, so the question's been, if Florida had a different coach, now, whether the QB's Lagway or is Napier just the entire problem with Lagway, or whatnot. If we have a different coach and maybe a different QB, Florida's a decently chance at being a top 5 team right now in the country, or being ranked inside the top 5 with wins over LSU and Miami. Like, it's not some crazy out of this world hypothetical when you look at those games. And again, as I said, 10-point loss where you had 5 picks, and that Miami game was a 6-point game with like 6 minutes left, where we had one of our worst offensive performances since either of any of us have been watching college football. Like, that's how good this defense is, and the talent around him is there. Our wide receivers, I mean, Vernell Brown III, true freshman, he's played really well. It's just the fact that Lagway can't get him the ball. And Aiden Mizell, he didn't play against Miami, apparently for some injury, but really good receiver. And our offensive line, you go back to last year when we were beating LSU, we beat Ole Miss before Lagway got hurt against Georgia and Kentucky. Like, the thing that made Florida so good at running the ball was the fact that you had to play multiple safeties because Lagway was throwing over top. Now we have one pass of over 20 yards in 4 games. I mean, we were having one pass every quarter of over 20 yards when Lagway was on the field last year. That's been the biggest problem on offense, is the fact that if you can't throw it deep, then teams can just stack the box, and we're not going to do anything offensively besides one drive.
Going back to the Texas offense, and I hate to make this like as simple as Texas's offense versus Florida's defense, but like I think that's the matchup that's going to determine this game. I mean, I don't think Florida can score at all in this game. So to me, it's just a question of, can Texas score enough to pull away, or will it be a super low scoring game where Florida's at least technically in it for a decent amount of it? And I guess I think honestly, the most surprising thing to me with Texas is offensively isn't even the way Arch is struggling. It's that it's not been bad, but this hasn't been like a great running team. And with all the talent in that running back room, I know they've had injuries. Is it the offensive line not being as good, losing what they lost to the draft and stuff last year? Is it all of the above? Like, what would you say is going on there?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly the offensive line not being great, but the holes they do create with the younger guys they do have back there right now because of the injuries, there's multiple missed holes that they're just not seeing and hitting. Like Trey Wisener and CJ Baxter would hit those, and instead of 3-yard gains, it'd be 8 to 9 yard gains. So that's definitely part of it, but it is the offensive line. Like, it's funny because I was worried about the right tackle position. Brandon Baker's actually been pretty good once the snap happens. His issue is false start penalties and stuff like that. But Trevor Goosby's in great at left tackle. No issue with that. It's the interior. DJ Campbell is still too inconsistent. I don't know if Cole Hudson, the center, will be back this game. Honestly, that's not a big deal to me. He hasn't played great. I actually think Connor Robertson, when the ball is snapped, is better than Cole Hudson. And then the left guard position is the worst on the team. I don't know how it can be fixed. They've been rotating there. They've tried multiple guys there. I think Connor Stroh will probably get the start again there. But yeah, this isn't a great running offensive line. They're better in pass protection. I think Arch helps out with that with his legs as well. But we need, and I said this, we need one of the 2 backs to come back this week. I think it's most likely going to be Trey Wisener. He even posted on his Instagram, I think like 4 or 5 days ago, with the picture of himself. It said soon. I think it was more of they were holding him out through the UTEP, the San Jose States, because they realized they don't need him versus that competition. I think they were getting him ready for SEC play. So I expect him to play. CJ Baxter, I have no idea. And it's funny because going into the season, I was worried about CJ Baxter's injury because he tore up his whole knee basically. And he was great when he came back. Like, he played a lot more versus Ohio State and played well versus Ohio State. And I was surprised by that. And then, of course, the first running play versus UTEP, he pulls his hamstring. So I have no idea how long he's going to be out. He probably doesn't play in this game. But I expect us to ride Trey Wisener if he's good to go, and I expect him to be good to go in this game.
What do you think the recipe for success offensively is for Texas in this game?
So this is the thing. Arch is good with the deep ball. Like, explosive play rates, he's really good. Like, versus Ohio State, I think he was 3 of 3 over passes 20 yards downfield. Like, that's not his issue. He's going to hit the deep ball. His issue is the intermediate and shallow passes. If he hits those at a 65% clip, I think we'll be good. I think that's what I need to see. If he hits the layups, if he's hitting the layups, I think Texas can run away in this game. But do I expect that? No, because I've yet to see it other than versus Sam Houston. Again, I don't put a lot of stock into that. But I think that's the missing link there. Can he hit the layups consistently? If he does that, then I think this Texas offense can have a pretty decent day.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's defense has been really good at not giving up the big plays. I mean, outside of the Minneapolis miracle play USF had against us, where our own safety takes out our corner and they get that miraculous touchdown there to take the lead against us in week 2. Have we given up any big passing plays? Because none's coming to my mind. I mean,
Not
LSU
really
may
to
have
come
had
to
one.
mind.
LSU had their
Yeah,
touchdown pass.
yeah. I don't
That
think
was like
that
20
happened until
yards.
it was kind of like Florida had already put itself in a pretty bad spot, though. Like, I don't remember like an early big play like really setting Florida back. They've done a pretty good job of taking away other teams' explosives. They just get zero explosives of their own.
Yeah, I think the way Texas can move the ball offensively, Miami's run game was graded out in like the 90s, which for how poor or how much they didn't, how little they scored is kind of funny. I mean, we played great bend don't break defense. Our linebackers are really good, but our defensive line is really hurt right now. I mean, Caleb Banks, who we talked about as a potential first round draft pick, he's only played one game against LSU and then he had surgery. I believe he broke his foot or something like that. So he could come back, but probably won't based on how the season's going. So he's not going to be in this game. Mekhi Barrow has missed the last 2 games as well. Our third string defense, our second string nose tackle. So he's also going to miss. Brandon Bett, I don't know the injury report on him yet. We'll get those lists later down the road. He got hurt against Miami in that 4th quarter. So I don't think his is too serious, but we're missing our potential first round draft pick defensive tackle and maybe another or 2 defensive tackles. And we saw it against Miami. Miami before like the 40-yard line from their 25 to, our 45, they were running the ball at a really high level. And then Carson Beck or just us making the right play at the right time was able to stop them. If Texas can just figure out how to run in Florida territory, then Texas offense could have some high level success in the ground against us, because I think this game, it could get ugly quickly, especially like if Texas, let's say Florida starts with the ball here, and let's say we go 3 and out, which there's a high chance Florida goes 3 and out in this game on the first drive. How many times did we go 3 and out against Miami? It was like 7 or 8 times probably.
I mean, 0 of 13 on third down. So I don't know how many times it was 3 and out specifically, but I didn't get a ton of first downs in that game. So it had to have been a decent amount.
Yeah. So Florida's probably get like a 3 and out right away to start the game. And if Texas goes down and scores, I mean, Fire Billy chance are going to be starting at a high level in that game. I mean, and that's just something that's probably going to get ahead of the players, the coaching staff. Like, I don't know if Texas can, but if they can, this game could get ugly quickly, and you guys could run for a lot of yards on us.
What do you think? I'm curious, because when we talked to you a couple months ago before the season, I think like me and Tyler, among our biggest questions about this Texas team was the receiving core. Obviously, with Arch kind of, having the struggles he's had, I don't know if you've gotten the best way to evaluate it, but like, how do you view the way that those guys are playing so far to start the season?
Yeah, so DeAndre Moore, I'm just going to give him an incomplete right now because he's been too hurt. And what he did play again for San Diego State, played well. And he seemed more explosive in that game than earlier in the year versus Ohio State. Ryan Wingo, it's weird. Ryan Wingo and Arch Manning have not been on the same page at all. Like, there's been so many times Ryan Wingo's been open and he just not able to hit him. And I will say, I do think that was a confidence boost. They hit on a couple big plays versus Sam Houston. I do think that can just get the relationship going and rolling. So I think that is a super positive thing. But he's been a little bit underwhelming, but I think that has a lot to do with Arch Manning. The guy that stepped up to be like either the best or second best wide receiver on the team, and I'm surprised, I thought he'd be number 4, was Parker Livingston. Parker Livingston has been really, really good. So I think that's a guy that I trust right now. I think he's the most consistent wide receiver on the team, which is shocking. I knew he had the talent, but I just thought he was in a room full of, B plus guys, and he was kind of a C plus guy. So he's lived up and surpassed my expectations. The key factor is Emmett Mosley. Is he going to be coming back for his first game? The Stanford transfer. He's yet to play. He is practicing. They said this week, hey, he's progressing well. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know if he's going to play in this game. I don't know when to expect him, but I think that's a guy that can help Texas on 50-50 balls because he's really good at winning 50-50 balls down the field. But overall, it's a good, solid room, but it doesn't have the explosive player like an A.D. Mitchell. It doesn't have an explosive player like an Xavier Worthy. Unless Ryan Wingo, you can hit him, on a reverse or on a screen. That's really been the only consistent thing of him making explosive plays. They've had one explosive pass downfield to him, but until you get that going consistently, they're missing that explosive playmaker on the outside.
Maybe another thing that we haven't even mentioned yet, Florida starting corner Dijon Johnson is going to be out for the season. Got injured against Miami. However, Devin Moore, he's been healthy. I'm pretty sure he either leads the team in snaps or he's top 5 in snaps. So we said before the season, he's a great corner if he can stay healthy, and he has stayed healthy so far. And Cormani McClain is starting to emerge. I'm pretty sure he's Florida's highest graded corner on PFF this season so far. Had the big pick against Miami. So our starting corners are fine, but now we're missing Dijon Johnson, and our next man up. Do we know, is it confirmed who our next man up is? I mean, is it Ben Hanks, the freshman? Do they move Caraway back to corner because he's been playing safety, but now with the injury to Dijon, I mean, this was a question we had before the season, whether or not we're talking about Florida as a playoff team, was what happens if we miss a corner, if we lose a corner? Ben Hanks, high-rated freshman, so it's like him stepping up wouldn't be a shock. He's now has some time. He hasn't even played that much this year, has he?
Not really.
So, which, we have 3 high-level corners, so it makes sense he hasn't played that much in these big-time moments. But if, say, Cormani or Devin Moore gets hurt, which, I don't want it to happen, but Devin Moore just getting hurt, we always feel like it's an inevitability until he doesn't get hurt. So, what happens if one of them do get hurt, and then maybe you're starting to get more open routes? I mean, hopefully we don't have to put Teddy Foster in. That's like, if Teddy Foster's playing in this game, Billy Napier will not be coaching against Texas A&M.
Well, and I was going to say, I remember you guys saying in the preview that, that was something you'd be worried about if you did miss a corner. And I've watched your games, a lot of them, because you've played high-level competition. And I've been impressed by Cormani McClain. Like, I think he's finally starting to live up to the hype. Like, he's been really good. So I think that's something to look out for, and it's going to be interesting to see who he matches up on in this game. What matchup on offense do you guys – is there any on your offensive side of the ball that you can try to take advantage of the Texas defense at all? Is there anything that –
I was about to ask you that version of that question, but is there anything that scares you? Not really, to be honest with you.
I remember when we were talking, you said one thing that could be good for Florida is that
tight end versus the linebackers.
Yep. Tight end versus linebackers, which our tight ends have been absolutely horrific. Our
good.
tight ends lost us the USF game if our tight ends played decent football against USF, we win that game. I mean, there's many things that would have won this game, if any, but tight ends dropping wide open touchdowns, getting holding calls on touchdowns. I mean, our tight ends have been awful. Is there anything? I mean,
I think Vernell Brown is the true freshman receiver, really highly rated guy, borderline 5-star. He's a really good player, and I think he's a tough matchup. I just think that, first of all, I don't trust DJ Lagway to get him the ball. Second of all, I don't know if there's anyone else. Especially, do we know, is Sturdivant good? Like, do we know what the deal is with Sturdivant?
Oh yeah, he suffered an injury on that gritty first down he got. Fourth, but I do not. We won't find out until. I mean,
because we haven't gotten
Napier give us anything on Monday.
Report. Yeah,
Napier probably won't give us anything on Monday. So
no, probably not. We'll have to wait. Yeah, even if Sturdivant plays, he hasn't really made a big impact. So I think my problem is I think Vernell Brown's really good, but I don't think Florida's necessarily figured out how to use anyone else, including Trey Wilson, which continues to be disappointing. But it's just like, I think Texas can sell out to take him away. And beyond, if you can do that, I don't know what else you got. I mean, I think you still have to respect the run. I mean, I think if you play too soft on the run, you'll pay for it. Even though Florida's offensive line has been kind of disappointing so far this year. It hasn't been awful, but not, I'm blanking on the name of the award for the best offensive line.
Joe Moore
Award. Yeah. We thought it was going to be a team competing for that, that caliber offensive line. It really hasn't been, but it's, good enough that, if you're able to trick Texas, or not trick Texas, but just get it to a point where they can't, commit fully to the run, then maybe you can get something there. But with the way these games have gone, teams know how to stop this.
I was just about to say, Matthew, you said earlier that you guys are forcing teams to prove they can run against you. before you do commit to it. Maybe now, I mean, I feel like you guys have to adjust right away and just, I mean, not saying we will make you guys pay for it because there's a good chance we don't make you pay for it. But maybe that's the one matchup to where early on, if you guys just stick to your base defense, I mean, we haven't seen Florida run against nine-man boxes. So maybe if we get the chance, I remember Texas players were saying last year that even though you guys blew us out, we still ran for 200 yards. And they were saying that our offensive line was maybe the most physical you guys played all season. So maybe if you guys do just stick to a base defense early on, we could have some success early on running. But then, of course, it's almost a guarantee that if we have some success, there's going to be some penalty that turns us back, or Lagway's just, it's going to be a 3rd and short and Lagway throws an incompletion. And, it's tough to see Florida having success here. But maybe if you guys do just stick to a base defense early on, we could have some running success, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy because, we had T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, and those were 2 of the 3 or 4 highest rated defensive tackles in Pro Football Focus. Was like, okay, that's probably not going to happen again. The next year we have Alfred Collins, who was the highest rated Pro Football Focus defensive tackle. And then this year I'm like, okay, definitely not going to happen. And then Hero Kanu is right now 2nd in Pro Football Focus defensive tackle. So I'm like, they're just really good at developing these guys, and that I didn't expect him. Like, he came over from Ohio State, and I thought he was our 3rd best defensive tackle, and he hasn't been. He's been phenomenal, especially pass rushing. He might be one of the best pass rushers on the team. So it is interesting. But you guys said, you guys have a good offensive line. Jaden Ball's capable. I mean, maybe early on you do have a chance of running. I don't know.
I was about to say.
I think you guys are going to adjust the moment you see DJ throw his first ball into triple coverage. I think at that point they're gonna change gears.
Or as I was going to say, I mean, you guys, Ohio State is probably one of the top 2 teams in the country. It's them or Oregon right now, depending on who you ask. I don't think Ohio State has difference makers at running back. I think Ball is the best running back that you guys will have faced all season. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on. I mean, it's also like it's college football. Things that we think are sure things just don't happen. It feels like 90% of the time. So, but like that could be something. Ball being the best running back you face, maybe your running defense isn't as good.
I think he is because I think Bo Jackson is just as good as Jaden Ball with Ohio State, but he didn't play. It was C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples, and C.J. Donaldson's good, but I think Jaden Ball's better. James Peoples not good at all. I don't know why he gets any carries for Ohio State, but
no.
Yeah, I definitely think he's the best. And you guys honestly would have, probably the 2nd or 3rd best pair of receivers we would go against if DJ Lagway could get him the football, because Vernell Brown is really good. And that is what concerns me is Jalen Gilbo. He gets beat like 2 to 3 times a game. Like, he is the issue on the Texas defense. I think he could get picked on. He's the one that gave up the touchdown on Carnell Tate deep down the middle of the field versus Ohio State. But can you hit those is the thing. And that's the thing. Like, he's gotten beat, but none of the teams we played other than Ohio State could hit those passes. So if DJ Lagway can't, then you're not going to penalize the worst player on the Texas defense.
And with that in mind, like, I'm kind of curious, what do you view as like the nightmare situation in this game for Texas? Like, what is the game state where you're like, this is the one thing we couldn't have happen and have this game go well?
Yeah, so on the offensive side of the ball, it's Arch not hitting the layups and getting behind the chains. I think up until the Sam Houston game, our average 3rd down distance was like 3rd and 7.5 or something crazy like that. Like, we can't live in that versus good football teams or super talented football teams. And if that happens and he's doing that and we, turn the ball over there, that's on the offense side of the ball. On the defense side of the ball, it's that. If you're able to hit plays down the field on Jalen Gilbo and then also able to run the ball just a little bit, like 3.5, 4 yards per carry, I mean, this will be a 4th quarter game for sure. So I think those are the 3 things that I look at. If they happen, it's probably going to be a close win for us or a close win for you if it happens. If you hit 2 out of the 3, I think you can still win the football game. If you hit 1, I'm not that concerned. But those are my 3 keys looking at them. Like, if Florida checks those boxes, I mean, you guys could win the football game.
Maybe.
It's hard for me to even see a reality. Like, I mean, honestly, it's kind of refreshing hearing you talk because it's the most positive and affirming outlook on the Florida Gators I've heard from anyone since pretty much before week 2. Because I don't think there's a lot of literally all our whole chat's just being like you got that telling you that you're being giving the Gators too much credit, Matthew.
It's just summed up right here. We suck.
Well, this is the thing though. Like, unless you guys are truly Florida State from last year, where you guys just quit and gave up like after 5 or 6 games, then you're gonna knock off someone you shouldn't because you have too much talent. That's my opinion. I think you'll win a game you shouldn't win. And that could be this game. That's what scares me. Like, there's no one left on our schedule I'm looking at like they're just going to roll over and we're going to beat them, other than maybe Kentucky. I think we might kill Kentucky. But everyone else, I think, is going to be a tough football game.
That's
the problem I have. No, go ahead.
That's something right there mentioned about further down the line. I think there's a decent chance Napier does get fired after this Texas game. And I think Gator fans' biggest problem has been Napier's play calling. And with Billy fired, obviously we're gonna have a new play caller and Russ Callaway, a former air raid guy. So, I mean, how much can you change the offense in a week? Like, that's all in that. But maybe that is something that rejuvenates things, and because we have the talent to beat anyone on our schedule, we just besides maybe the QB. But again, if the play calling comes in, rejuvenates things. I mean, maybe they bench Lagway or Lagway well, no, he can't register after the Texas game, but maybe Lagway sits out, gets surgery or whatnot, and Tramel Jones, the freshman, comes in and maybe he's better and better play calling. Like, that could be a team that with the interim maybe rejuvenates some life into the program and could help us maybe pick off a few games. I mean, like, could we knock out like a Tennessee from the playoff? Tennessee hasn't won in the swamp since 2003. Like, that's a game you could win. I mean, I don't think FSU is all that crazy. I don't think FSU is probably one of the worst 3 teams left on our schedule.
I mean, probably by default.
Yeah. So it's like they could definitely still pick off some wins. And I don't even necessarily think it's games we shouldn't win. It's just games that are going to be tough, low-scoring, close games.
My problem with that, though, is like you've been getting these last 3 weeks, like Herculean performances from the defense. I mean, just so gutsy in spite of the fact that the offense has absolutely nothing. And now injuries starting to pile up a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. The writing's pretty clearly on the wall for Billy Napier. And it's just like, how many more of these can you get? Like, just realistically, how many more of these performances can you get from the defense without the offense being able to do anything before it's just like, I mean, it's just human nature. Like, you're not like, I guarantee you, if Florida keeps losing these games 24-7, like that kind of margin, you're not going to see the defense play like this by the time we get to that Florida State game. So it's just,
Iowa.
What?
Where's
I mean, but the problem with the difference is Iowa's still playing for Kirk Ferentz. How long will this team still be playing for Billy Napier? And maybe that's already over. I mean, maybe, and that's kind of, and I think we'll get into predictions more later, but that's kind of my fear in this game is I kind of think this could be the game where the dam breaks loose just because the vibes just get so sour that you kind of lose. Because, I mean, say what you will about this coaching staff and this team, but like these guys have been playing hard for Billy. Like they have at no point in the last 2 seasons quit on him. I have a feeling that's going to change at some point here in the next coming
and
weeks.
that's what I think too. Like, if Texas can jump out to a 10-0, 14-0 lead, then I think at that point I'd feel pretty confident, because I just don't think you guys will have the will to like try to come back, honestly, because it's like, what's the point of fighting back in a game where the writing is on the wall? And that's why I was kind of surprised, honestly. I thought Billy Napier on this bye week, I thought this was a prime time to fire him. I don't know if you guys will fire him up until your next bye week. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Will they wait that long?
I think it depends on how bad things get. But like, I think if you lose ugly on Saturday, I think it's over. Like, if you lose like by 3+ touchdowns, I think it's over. I think it's close, he might buy him some time. But if you keep it close and then you go and just get absolutely boat raced on the road by Texas A&M the next week and you're 1-5, I can't.
He'd be gone after A&M.
And then you risk because you'd be 1-5 and then coming home to play Mississippi State at the Swamp ahead of the next bye. I'm not even saying I would pick Florida to win that game right now, but it's obviously talent-wise among the winnable games on the schedule. So what do you do then? Fire him after a win because you're still 2-6 with Georgia and Ole Miss and Tennessee and FSU still upcoming.
Happened to Dan
So
Mullen.
What?
Happened to Dan Mullen.
It did happen to Dan Mullen, but that was also later in the year. That's where I don't know. Like, I kind of don't think. I think if he wins, if he finds a way to win on Saturday, and then goes and gets killed by A&M, I think he's bought himself probably until the Georgia game. Would you agree with that, Tyler? I think he probably has bought himself.
If he beats Texas,
the right
yeah.
to stay. I think if he wins Texas, even if you get, maybe if it's not like horribly
unless he
ugly,
loses both A&M and Mississippi State, then he'll be fine.
Let's say you lose by like 13 to A&M after like beating Texas. He'll probably get until Georgia just completely destroys us in Jacksonville.
Yeah, because I don't think if we're doing that, then I don't think we're getting bullied by Mississippi State.
Probably win that game.
So
if you play these next two games that tight, you probably beat Mississippi State.
So here's the difference between this game and the Miami game. For one, there's all the talks about the red shirt. That might just be an excuse. I mean, so players can't redshirt and just transfer because they've played 5 games now for Texas. But I think another thing is the fact that this is going to be in the swamp. If the fans, I think this game could be 7-0, and fans, it'll
get toxic. It'll get toxic.
It will be a horror. They might be throwing stuff onto the field. Like, I will be at the game. I won't be throwing things on the field. That's not me. I think
this game has the potential to be. Do you remember, Tyler, that homecoming game that Muschamp did against Missouri, where Muschamp didn't get fired after that game, but it was such an embarrassing performance in a homecoming game. Lost like 42-13. Had like 150 yards of offense. It was very similar to the Miami game, just more of a bigger margin. And he didn't get fired right after that, but it was like, it clearly became an untenable position after that because you just went and embarrassed yourself in front of what was like a good home crowd for a homecoming game. I think this is very similar to what it would be like if Texas comes out and wins this game. Not even like in blowout fashion, but just like decisively, like late touchdown to make it a 17-point win. Even that, if you're
I'm telling you, if Texas is up unless it's like a high scoring affair and Texas wins, like if Texas is winning 7-3, fans are chanting fire Napier, fire Billy for half the game.
I think that might happen in a 0-0 game after the first 3 and out. Like literally after the first 3 and out in a 0-0 game, that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee that it will happen. All right, Matthew, I have a question for you. I'm going to try to ask as many non-Gator fans. Billy's going to be fired. We're going to have a new coach next season. That's an inevitability at this point. Who do you think is the best hire for Florida?
So I have a question back to that because what are your guys' expectations for Florida? So if I laid out new coach gets hired and I laid out a 10-year plan, like a decade, how many times do you expect to get to the SEC championship? How many times do you expect to get to a national championship? Stuff like that.
So I think –
Go ahead, Tyler.
So 10-year plan, SEC championship, we saw it last year. Ohio State didn't even make the Big Ten championship and they won the Natty. In 10 years, I would have hoped you would have made the SEC championship a time or two. But that's not really going to factor my opinion. And if you're here for 10 years, I would have hoped you're making the playoffs. Especially if it's 16 teams, 70% of the time, 60% of the time at least. 16 teams especially. And of those 6, I'm hoping like 1 or 2 of those are actual contenders, maybe 3 of them. And I'd hope in 10 years you have a Natty. But, it took Georgia, what did it take Georgia, 7 years to win a Natty?
I think 6, yeah.
To win, but they played for 1 in year 2.
Yes, they did play for 1 in year 2. That's a very thing. I think if you're here at Florida, if you're winning 9+ games each and every season, maybe you have a year where you have some bad injury luck or something, you win 8 or 7. I don't think we're Bama. We could be like a Bama or a Georgia. We could, but right now I don't see that. So I just want us to be playoff contenders every single year. And then a decent amount of those being like actual natty contenders.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that completely. That's pretty much right in line with where I'm at. Like Look, I think we're past the point of like this should be a program that's competing to win the national championship every single year. That's not what this team has been since I was literally a child. So, I mean, I
Hopefully
think
you can build there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of where I'm kind of with you. Like, I think like 9 wins should be the baseline. I think you should be in the mix for the playoff every single year, even if you miss, but you should be in the mix for the playoff every single year, building towards maybe a team that can contend for a deeper playoff run once every 3 to 4 years. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No.
Okay, well then that answers my question with that. I would probably go with Lane Kiffin then.
I mean,
Because
That's everyone's
like,
answer.
yeah, because so that's the thing. I said it wouldn't be a good hire because I didn't know your guys' expectation. I said on Twitter because I don't think he's capable of winning a national championship, but I do think he's capable of doing that. I just think he has a ceiling. I don't know what it is about him. There's stuff about his coaching I just don't like. He wins these games like yesterday versus LSU. I wasn't shocked. I bet that they would win that game, but they're going to lose the game they should. It would not shock me if they lose to Mississippi State at the end of the year at all, because that's what Lane Kiffin does. But I think he's on there. I think Kirk Cignetti would be a good call. I would definitely be calling him. I think Alex Golish at South Florida.
No,
I'd give him a call.
Stop.
Those,
No.
I'm just, another one that I'm going to throw out there because I think his time at this program is over. James Franklin. I know people don't like him, but he wins 10 football games a year. I think he can get you the SEC championship game. Again, I don't think he's going to win a national
10 games a year with Florida
championship.
schedule?
Yeah, because he just beats teams he should when he has the talent. He doesn't lose, or he loses to teams like he would. Like, for example, you play Alabama, Georgia, he'll lose those 2 games. Everyone else, I think he can beat. I think
Florida has to play like 5 top 10 teams this year, and he hasn't won one of those games in like the last 15 tries.
No, that's true. But yeah, that's fair. But it's really only up until yesterday. It was it was Michigan and Ohio State. That was like his main competition in the Big Ten, and the SEC would be interesting
last year.
Yeah, that's true in the Big Ten championship game. So, I mean, that's like a dark horse I threw out there. I can't think of any other name that comes to my mind. I mean, Kenny Dillingham, but I don't really expect him to go from Arizona State to Florida. I think
I
don't
name
see
that's
him doing that.
I'll tell you one name that's pretty high up with our AD, Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I just don't see him winning a national championship. That's the thing. Like, but with your expectations, I agree. I think he can definitely do that. Like, he's a really good coach, what he's done at Missouri. Another guy, what about Jeb Fish? Has that been thrown out? Because I know he's...
Yeah, it has.
Yep.
Okay.
I think Florida the consensus opinion is he needs to... He either not yet or he needs to really do something this year. I mean, I think had they won that game yesterday, I think you'd be hearing Jed Fish a lot for this job. But I think... if the fact that they're heading towards probably like an 8-4 or something, which is great. I mean, they had to rebuild that entire roster from scratch, but like, I just don't know if he's accomplished enough. That to me is like a guy that you turn to if you get told no like 3 times.
So after Lane Kiffin, then who would be your number 1?
I think we're both Lane Kiffin number 1, right?
No, after that though.
Oh, after that, I think my top 3, which I think is probably pretty consistent with most of where the fan base is at. I want Kiffin. If Kiffin says no, I might want Cignetti. And then Drinkwitz after that would probably be my top 3.
I've heard Cignetti wants to stay north. I've heard he's not a south person.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So that's just one thing. I'll say a name that I've talked about a bunch. I've heard legit things about this. Marcus Freeman. Like, he has legit concerns with Notre Dame and issues with Notre Dame and their, higher ups and stuff like that. So that's my one. Freeman's my one. I mean, I know the person that's told me this is a trustworthy source. So Freeman's my one. And if we can get that done, great. Then Lane Kiffin's my 2. Now, you say Lane Kiffin can't win a natty. I think something that's a bit underlooked. Lane Kiffin had top 5 recruiting classes at USC while under heavy sanctions. He was losing 10 scholarships a year, which this was back when it was, how many scholarships was it? 70?
I think it was still 85. I think it was still 85.
Yeah, I think it's been 85 for a while.
It's been at 85, but I mean, they had lost. They had probably 15 or 20 stripped from them. They were in a pretty.
They lost 30 over 10. They lost 30 over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and postseason ban.
Tough. That's really tough.
Postseason ban. Yeah, he still had back-to-back top 5 classes. Like, I think with NIL and Lane Kiffin coming to Florida is just like a fit that a lot of people just think works perfectly. I mean, Steve Spurrier is like his idol. Like he loves Steve Spurrier and everything like that. It's like that's kind of the fit. I think he could win a natty because I think if he wins enough, recruiting will be at a high enough level. Plus his transfer portal gets plus his level of offensive talent he can get at Florida is going to be at a very, very high level. So and honestly, his offense was a problem last year. The defense was one of the best in the country. And their offense kind of is the reason they didn't make the playoffs. So I think he could. If you get past those two, I like Fish. I think if Fish stayed at Arizona, I think they would have been one of the Big 12 title contenders. And this year, I think they would have also like been right back there. I think he would have been a name that would have been at the top of the list, but instead went to Washington, took the harder route, and he's making a lot more money than he was at Arizona. So that's very fair of him. But honestly, once you get past those two, it's kind of tough. Goalish, you mentioned, he's going 6-7 in his first 2 years there, or did he go? Was he there 3 years?
I think 7-6 his first 2 years.
7-6.
Yeah.
Sorry, 7-6. And I mean, we'll see how they finish this year, but like, Fish won't. I mean, sorry, not Fish. Goalish won't be the guy. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. But I think after that, it's pretty tough pickings.
I think two names.
It's probably Drink.
Yeah, it's probably Drink. I think two names that could also be involved. If this would be like if the search kind of gets off the rails, like if you get told no like several times and you kind of have to go deep in your depth chart. Two names I'm pretty sure would come up: Rhett Lashley at SMU, Brent Key at Georgia Tech. I think those are both names that you could see come up for this job. I don't really love either of those names, but I think especially Brent Key. There's been a lot of chatter about Brent Key being someone that the administration likes. So we'll see.
I think Rhett Lashley's going to fall off pretty hard this year. So.
I think Rhett Lashley might be the next head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, to be quite honest with you.
You don't think Neck Brace will be the next coach?
If he wins like two games that they shouldn't, I think that has a very good chance of happening.
A name that's going to be a head coach too at some point. I don't know where he's going to end up, but Oregon's offensive coordinator, Will Stein. I think I would, if you're already to that point with Brent Key and Rhett Lash, I'd just go with him.
I fully agree. We're both big Will Stein guys. I think he's just young and a little too risky for how important this hire is, but I think he's brilliant. So I would not. If the search gets dire enough that Brent Key and Rhett Lashley are coming up, and you end up hiring Will Stein, I would be like, could have been worse.
Yeah, because you already know the ceilings of those two coaches. Like, I don't think there's much untapped potential there. Whereas Will Stein, hey, you may hit a home run on that.
Brent Key, maybe. I'd be willing to believe Brent Key's ceiling is a little bit higher than what he's shown at Georgia Tech, because I do think he's a really good coach. I agree about Rhett Lashley.
That's
I think
for me.
About on what, both or
Lashley? That's just an automatic.
Yeah, I think Key is a really good coach. I don't really like Key's style. Like,
that's
I
what
don't
I was
think
going to
he's
say. Like,
stylistically a good fit for Florida, but I do think he's a great coach, and he's one of several guys. Like, I will say this about this hire. I think there are a lot of names you could hire, a lot of different names that would all raise the floor pretty considerably. I think Drinkwitz does that. I think even Brent Key does that. I think obviously Signetti and Lane do that. Obviously Freeman does that. So, like, in a way, I don't think they could get this one wrong, in the sense that I think they would have to hire a really awful candidate for it not to be immediately improved from where the Billy Napier era was.
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm trying to think. I think it wouldn't even, like, if you offer Will Stein the job, he's taking the job. So I think that's kind of where it ends for me. Like, I don't really see anything past that.
Yeah, I've heard that Will Stein isn't going to rush things and take a bad job. Like, I know he was connected to Virginia Tech and UCLA and probably will be to Arkansas. I don't know. We'll see what Arkansas does. They have a lot of money, so if they get serious, then that could be a real job. But I've heard Stein's going to wait for a big job, so that could be Florida. But
you have to be a psychopath to take the UCLA job. Like,
right.
You know what?
Virginia
Psycho,
Tech
I
is
think
a
might
much
do
better
it.
job.
I think Coach O might do it. I think Coach O. I could see it. I could totally see it.
I'd love that.
Yeah, I could too.
All right, but Matthew, are you going to give us a prediction for this game on here, or are you going to wait for your show?
Yeah. No,
all right, let's get into that.
Here.
All right,
yeah,
I'm going to
go.
Into it.
You want me to go
go
first?
ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to go 27-13 I think you guys hang around for a little while, and then we pull away late. My only, like you said, it's going to be, there's so many different dynamics this game could take on, because if we go up early, we could run away with it because your fans turn on, and then your players like, oh, this again, and basically we blow you out. It could be Arch Manning struggles early, keeps you in the game, and then we're talking about a fourth quarter battle. So I'm just going to go in between the two. I'm going to go 27-13. I think you guys have enough talent to stick around, but I think we pull away late in this game and, win by 2 scores.
Natuno, you can go next.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to you. That's pretty close to the number I had in my head. Actually, the number I have in my head's a little worse. I'm going 28-10. I'm going 28-10. I think this game, I mean, I know this is lazy analysis. I just think this is going to be the exact same game you've seen for the last 2 weeks. I think it's going to play out almost exactly the same way. I don't think Texas is going to do anything spectacular on offense. They might hit a big play or two that kind of helps them stretch the margin. I don't think they're going to come out and torch Florida either. This is a great defense, and Florida's played 2 of those already, and they couldn't do anything on offense. And injuries are starting to pile up. Morale is getting worse. I think these are the games that Florida's built to play against teams that are as good or more talented than it, which is certainly the case for Texas. So I just don't really see a way Florida can even compete in this game with the offense being the way it is.
Yeah, see, I'm still a fan here. I see there's so many different scenarios I can see this game going. So I'm going to take the scenario in my mind that I think is the most fun here. And that scenario still has Florida losing. I'm going to take Texas to win 10-7. I think this is going to be a god-awful bloodbath that no one wants to watch. I mean, this is a gladiator fight that...
So Tyler and I disagree a little bit. I think he conflates a little too much the offensive issues Florida's having versus the offensive issues that Texas is having. I don't think either's been particularly great, but I mean, Florida has 3 total offensive touchdowns this year outside of the FCS game. So yeah, I don't think you hold it back enough to hold them to 10. That seems like asking a lot of the defense in a game where the offense is only scoring 7.
No, I'm gonna stick with my gut here. I'm just gonna say Texas wins this game 10-7. I'll say, you know what? This is going to be bold. Both teams score on their opening drive, and then Texas hits a field goal in the third quarter to win it. Both teams are going to come out with their best game plan. They're going to have their scripted drives. They're going to come out and run them to a pretty high level. Maybe what Matthew said, them running a base defense helps Florida get some yards there in. And then it's just going to be punt, 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 maybe the interception, maybe a fumble, punt, field goal. And then Florida's going to drive down. They're going to get into field goal range. Lagway throws a pick. Texas wins.
Yeah, I don't think Texas has scored on their opening drive in something like 20 games or something like that. We're terrible.
Anything? Anything?
No,
or touchdown.
Wow. It might be a touchdown. It's something crazy. It's been a very long time since Texas has scored on their opening drive. That's why and I like what Sark said. They haven't won the toss a lot, so he said we're deferring if we ever win the toss, which I completely agree because the defense has been great the past 2 years. So yeah, that's the thing too. That's another discussion that us Texas fans have had as should Steve Sarkisian hire an offensive coordinator, but. Yeah, it's interesting that you think 10-7. I mean, it could happen. The spread's only 7 points, which kind of surprised me, which means it's only 10 on a neutral field.
Surprising.